Hi, everyone. I apologize for the very dramatic music. I know you will be sick of it by tomorrow, but please bear with us. I hope lunch was good and you're ready for the next session. It is at the afternoon, and so if you feel like you need coffee to stay awake throughout the next 2 to 3 hours, please make sure you have a cup in front of you. Yes, so as you notice, one of the things that we've been talking about throughout is about homegrown tech, right? It's one of the main themes in this conference. We are looking at local technology as a resource to counter biases and source accuracy. So how can then publishers and homegrown tech build a partnership that collectively serves the local market? To answer this question and many more, we have a fireside chat with Henky Prihatna from GoTo. With that, I will hand it over to our interviewer, Citra from KBR.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for welcoming back to the session again. So as the MC mentioned that this session is a fireside chat, we will discuss about the local technology that is, we have been discussing about homegrown technology, about less represented languages that are not being used. So, and just before lunch, we discussed about how AI can really fall into cultural misrepresentation and also how they're struggling with the languages, and that will affect the performance. So now we will have a discussion on Sahabat AI. Sahabat is an Indonesian language that means a friend. This is a homegrown LLM, strategic initiative from Indonesia using local languages and dialects of Indonesian language, and use an ethical way to get data by collaborating with several credible media outlets like Tempo, Hukum Online, and Kompas. I would like to invite Pak Henky Prihatna to the stage, Head of Partnership GoTo. Sit there. Pak Henky is the Head of Partnership. Yes. Head of Partnership GoTo. GoTo and Indosat Urido Jensen are the brains behind the Sahabat AI. But before we start, I would like to invite you all to view the video that we have to explain a bit about Sahabat AI.
Abdi temui lapar, tuang naon atunya?
Neng tayang tuang naon atuh?
Terserah.
Kedah lieur, taros weh ka Sahabat AI.
Cemana pula awak ngurusnya?
Dan pula si Tereso, sukun matang tu si Sahabat AI.
Amang tahe, bah gampang kali nih rupanya.
Sapun aping deh, cara nyukun promosi sanggar tari. Mangdang ngawinang turis dura negara, seneng melancarin Pulau Bali.
Bingung ngerianin mat dari promosi nih, ngiring metaken ring Sahabat AI.
Lah, ayo olahraga ku yang bengi, bengi, sampean sopo?
Bingung, lu ya api olahraga isu, apa bengi? Takon wae Sahabat AI.
Sahabat AI, apa kui?
Sahabat AI paling ngerti Indonesia, seperti teman yang ngerti bahasa daerah juga. Dibuat oleh orang Indonesia, siap bantu keseharian, hadir di setiap kesempatan. Buka berbagai peluang tanpa batas untuk semua. Sebuah kedaulatan AI untuk berdayakan Indonesia. Gampang aksesnya, gratis tanpa perlu download apa-apa. Hemat memori HP. Buka di website Sahabat AI atau aplikasi GoPay. Sahabat AI, AI untuk kita semua.
Thank you so much. For those who don't understand the languages, that's the idea of it. Because we're using local languages, and Pak Henky here is going to explain briefly about what Sahabat AI is and the idea behind building this homegrown technology for us.
Okay, thank you, Citra. Hi, everyone. So now it's a good afternoon, or a good afternoon, right? So hope all of you had very nice lunches just now. Okay, so my name is Henky. So I'm from GoTo Group. Thank you, Citra, for the quick introduction just now. So what is Sahabat AI? As mentioned earlier, Sahabat means friend or best friend in Indonesian. So we launched Sahabat AI, LLM, a large language model, last November. So at the time, we were thinking, okay, so far Indonesia has been a huge market for AI. I think top 3 after US and India. But most of Indonesian people only use AI for maybe for chatting, for just doing small tasks, like simple tasks. But we got a lot of feedback as well from researchers, university students, even in our group. We have a lot of, because we have food delivery services, that's why we have a lot of food merchants. They are SMBs, right? Small, medium businesses. So most of them, when they use like global AI platform, they think that global AI platform, they're very good, of course, for English, right? But when it comes to a local context, when it comes to cultural relevance, and also when it comes to local languages or dialects, these global LLMs are weak, basically. So that's why we came up with an idea as a leading national technology company. We initiated to launch our own LLM because we believe that we need to have our own LLM and we need to make it open source. That's why Sahabat AI is open source. So it's it's open source large language model, whereby we partner with a lot of stakeholders in the country. So we partner with research institutes, we partner with universities, we partner with governments, we partner with media companies as well. Yeah. So when we launched Sahabat AI for the first time last year, November last year, there are like, if you want to create LLMs, there are 3 things you need to fulfill. First, of course, you need to have infrastructure, right? You need to have compute power, GPU power, and it's so expensive. Yeah. That's why we partner with Indosat. Indosat is one of the leading telco companies in Indonesia. So Indosat is the only NPC, NVIDIA cloud partner. So that's why when we launched Sahabat AI last year, Jensen Huang, the CEO and the founder of NVIDIA, came to the launch. And then second things, apart from compute power, you need to have engineers, like a brain behind the platform. At GoTo, we have a lot of engineers. We have more than 1,500 engineers. And we got also a lot of local engineers, like more than 600 engineers. Yeah. The last one actually is data, content. When we talk about building local AI platform, building local LLMs, we need to have content. So that's why we partners with government agencies. We partner with media companies like Tempo here, Hukum Online, Kompas Gramedia. We also partner with Republika and many more. Actually, we are onboarding many more partners to collaborate with us. So last year we launched Sahabat AI 8 billion parameter and also 9 billion parameters. Last month we launched 70 billion parameters. And along with these LLMs, last month we also launched the chatbot just to showcase the model. So in summary, the reason why we launched Sahabat AI because we think that there is a need for Indonesian people to have our local AI platform. Second thing as well, we want to support like our President Prabowo Subianto vision, right? To have like national leadership in this technology and infrastructure.
Okay, thank you very much. So you mentioned about data, the need of data, and the uniqueness of Sahabat AI here is the local languages. We have another video to showcase how the Sahabat AI is being used with local languages. Maybe you can explain as well what's going on here.
Actually, I wanted to do a real demo, but because of the limitation, so finally we created a video here. So basically, in Sahabat AI chatbot, you can access via sahabatai.com or sahabat-ai.com, or if you have a GoPay app, you can go to GoPay app. There's a mini app section on GoPay app. You can
Like this one, right?
correct.
GoPay.
Yes, GoPay. Yeah, you go to Layanan Warga,
Yeah.
right, and then you choose Sahabat AI, and it's free.
So
Yeah.
for those who already have the GoPay application, you can also try it out yourself. You go open GoPay application and
GoPay
go
application.
to layanan Favorit
Layanan
Warga,
Favorit Warga,
and
yes.
then you go to Sahabat AI,
Correct.
and
Yes.
this is what you are going to see.
Yeah. So basically, you can try if you actually I want to demo like, okay, is there any update regarding Indonesian national team U23, right? So Sahabat AI will give you recent news, recent information basically. Yeah. So you can ask about how to plan a trip to Yogyakarta, for example. Yeah. Can you share with me the nice cafe or restaurants nearby? So Sahabat AI is capable actually to do so. Yeah.
Okay. You also mentioned that you work together with several stakeholders like the government, agencies, and also media. Maybe, and we are going to see the slide here about the ecosystem of GoTo
Yeah.
for building the Sahabat AI.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I believe it's interesting. Before I came on the stage, basically I spoke with Mas Heru Catur from Tempo. So we discussed about, actually, I didn't know about this event. Of course, the team nicely briefing about this event, but Mas Catur briefly mentioned, actually this event is part of like Global South movement. Because when we talk about technology, when we talk about digital or AI, mostly it's coming from North, right? So for us, especially we are Indonesian, we are from South, right? I know previous event was held in Johannesburg and then was held in Sao Paulo, right now Indonesia, maybe later Malaysia, KL. So for South countries like Indonesia, we believe that we don't just want to become like a user, right? A market, right? Yeah. But we also want to become like an inventor, a developer for this new technology. So that's why we launched this Sahabat AI, but it's not alone. Even though we are the largest, the leading tech company in Indonesia, but it takes a village, yeah, to build our own AI initiative. So that's why we create this Sahabat AI ecosystem, yeah, together with just now with Indosat. Indosat is our infrastructure partner because currently they are the only NVIDIA partner in Indonesia, and then we have this media companies like Kompas Gramedia, Republika Tempo, Hukum Online, and many more. They're helping us in terms of data. And also we have these universities as well, because we believe that if we want to develop AI, we need to collaborate, especially with our partner universities. So we are partnering with University of Indonesia, ITB, IPB, USU, yeah, from North Sumatra. We also partnering with Udayana from Bali. So that's why when you look at the previous videos, we have Javanese, we have Sundanese, we have Balinese and Bataknese basically, plus Indonesian. Of course, we have a few international languages as well. Yeah.
Okay. What's interesting is in yesterday's conference, we talked a lot about how media journalists should protect content from being scrapped by AI crawlers. And then now, today we are talking about collaborating with partners. And this is how we see in action, how you collaborate with media organizations instead of stealing contents from them. What are the thoughts behind that?
Yeah, so when we initiated this movement, we came to our media partners, like Catur here, there is from Hukum Online as well. We don't just, how to put in a good sentence here. So when we came to them, basically, we wanted to get permission. We wanted to ask permission from them. Okay, it's not just, okay, I can, actually, everything is in public. Everything is under the sun, under the internet, you can scrap. Yeah. But we, as a partner, that's why we call it partner, right? We want to collaborate. That's why I came to Mas Catur here. Mas Catur, is it possible, we partner, we collaborate, because we have a vision, we have a bigger mission, right? To develop Sahabat AI, open source ecosystem that can really benefit local stakeholders, researchers, SMBs, students, yeah, many people basically in Indonesia. So I came to Mas Catur, so we just collaborate. I asked permission, can I get your data for us to train, basically. So for us to train, because when we partner with media companies, we believe that the data should be credible. This high quality data will produce high quality LLM, will produce high quality AI platform as well. So that's why at the first place, we want to make it right. And finally, yeah, we can launch it together with these partners. Yeah.
Okay, so the ethical way here of getting the content is also good start for getting us to the quality information ecosystem that we are all going towards to. Yeah. And then the idea of you and including the partners from universities, the local engineers is also one thing that I think you can explore more as well, and on why you're doing that. What kind of collaboration that you did with universities, for example?
So with universities, I believe in the previous section, there was Prof Ayu, yeah, from ITB, yeah. So actually, my team and we went all the way to ITB, just to meet Professor Ayu and the team, the students as well. So the collaboration, actually, there are many things, collaboration. The first thing that we do, basically, the talents. Like when I mentioned, when you build AI platform, you need to have talents. So we invited students from these universities to come to our office to work together with our engineers. So they can really have like a first-hand experience. Yeah. Because we believe that if you want to build a big or scale AI initiative, we need to have a lot of resources. And resources normally come from universities. So that's why we invited university students. We do like a structured internship program, like for a month, 2 months, with these students. So these students can work closely, directly with our data scientists, with our data engineers. So the student will help us actually to filter the data. Which one is good quality, which one fit with our culture, which one doesn't work. So it's different. I believe like global company, they don't have such thing, right? They don't have luxury to work with many local people that really help, to filter, which one is good data, which one is bad data, and also which one in terms of culture, context, everything fit with the data or not. So that's why these students actually help us a lot to produce a high quality AI platform. Yeah.
Okay, I would like to straightly opening a session for questions and answers for everyone who would like to ask, because this is a unique opportunity for us to really deep dive on a product that is live using local languages. We've been talking about the less represented languages, and then now we have this, and this is the opportunity for you to ask questions. Do you have? Yes.
Hello, my name is Irene Liu, and I'm the Director of AI, Emerging Tech and Regulation at the International Fund for Public Interest Media. We're one of the co-sponsors or co-hosts of the conference. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. I had a specific question about the product, the video that we saw, because the LLM is one thing that powers that consumer-facing product. If I were to go on the GoPay, would I be able to ask questions about news and events right now?
Yes.
And where are you getting the information about news events and things like that? Is it through your news partnerships?
Yeah. So okay. If you're talking about LLM, right? Like chatbot. Remember last time when ChatGPT launched, maybe 2022, when you search something new, the chatbot replied, sorry, our training data was September 2022, right? So the same as well for our chatbot, because our training data, this is a cutoff, right? For news, like current informations, we crawl the data. It's using RAG technology, right? So that's why we partner with like Tempo. We ask permission for a couple of media companies to get the data.
Okay, so you are not using, you're not using every data source of crawling for the news on that. It's only through your news partnerships for the app.
Yeah, correct.
Second question back there.
Hi, I am Jackie. You mentioned you have collaborations with the media companies, right? But what's in it for them? Did you pay them? Do they have compensation for this? And what did they give you? Did they give you?
Good questions, yeah, good question.
Yes.
So, okay,
Thank
good
you.
question. You can ask them, yeah?
And we are looking forward to the answers.
Let me pitch. Okay, let me pitch. So, okay, basically, first, this is open source. We make it open source. Anyone can download, basically. So there are two parts. First part is the LLM. LLM is the large language model. So anything that we launch, we put it in public in Hugging Face. Hugging Face basically is a marketplace, yeah, for developers to download open source code. You can go to Hugging Face. Now you can download Sahabat AI 8 billion, 9 billion, and the latest one 70 billion. Yeah. So these open source things, basically, you can download and then you can put it with your own data, you can train again. Different with OpenAI, right? You don't know. You just, you need to connect to API. This you can run it locally. Even you can run it in your local data centers, basically. So the data will stay local, basically. So for media company like Tempo, like Hukum Online, when we spoke with them, okay, first this is a open source movement. So you help Indonesian movement, bigger movement. Second things, right? Since they are our partners, they can get the access. When we train the data, they can get the early access. Yeah. Also, we do the workshop because we got a lot of engineers at GoTo. We are technology company. So we help them. If there is any use cases, for example, Tempo, we discussed about summarization, how to create summarization for media using AI. We discussed about sentiment analysis, basically, how to use AI for sentiment analysis. So we conduct workshop, we help each other, right? So we believe that every media companies, they want to use AI for different use cases. So at GoTo as technology company, we are happy to help. And second thing as well, I mentioned about if you want to create your own AI, you need to have compute power, GPU powers. So we discussed with Indosat, NVIDIA partners. For our partners, they provide GPU credits. This is the thing. Yeah, GPU credits, yeah. I think I pause here, yeah.
Okay, the third one is from Shui, and then the next, Ibu Chelsea, and then next Ash, and then you, the following.
So, say someone asks a question in your AI, and the reference, the answer references the media company's content. What sort of metrics are you giving the media company, if any, on the usage of their information and data?
Sorry, come again. Sorry.
Maybe you can put the mic closer and introduce yourself. Sorry.
Sorry, my name's Shui, and the question is, what sort of metrics are you giving the media companies that you're partnering with about the use of their content through your AI?
Yeah, so okay, for media companies, there are two partnerships basically. First, for example, with Kompas, yeah. Actually, we can get all the public data from them. But because of this partnership, actually, they allow us to connect via API to access the data. But of course, this is the public data, right? It's not the data that users need to pay. This is public data, free data. So they provide us API. Yeah, this is for the training. Yeah. Second things, if we take the data for current informations, they will be credit. We citing, okay, this is the source from, for example, from Kompas or from Tempo. So user can see the details on the media platform directly. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I think the question in particular was, do you give Tempo and Kompas and Hukum Online information about how often their articles are used as answers to a user?
Oh, no, yeah, we don't.
Would you do that? Would you be willing to do that?
They can check, right? They can check how many times hit coming from, I think. They can check.
You mean because it's every time it hits it.
It goes, yeah.
But if it's through, so you only use the API for the LLM training, but when it's the
so for LLM is different. Okay, let me separate two different things, right?
Yeah.
First is LLM. LLM is a data we get. One is trained is part of the model.
Right.
Even we cannot see the details, what is inside the data. It's LLM.
Right.
Another thing is RAG. Basically, it's a web crawler.
So you're not using the API for the RAG?
No.
You're using crawling for the RAG?
Correct.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. So the analytics
for the API is for the training.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, for any company, they could assess based on how often there's a call.
Correct.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Clear. Yeah.
Okay, the next question will be Ibu Chelsea.
Good afternoon, distinguished speakers and the host organizers. Highly appreciate for this conference. Allow me to speak in Bahasa Indonesia to address my question because we have a very expensive technology, which is all the speakers and participants raise question or statement in English since yesterday. So I want to use this opportunity for you from our friends from international boards to listen to in Bahasa Indonesia.
Thank you. People are moving to the booth.
Yeah, so the translator or the interpreter can also take a break a little bit maybe, yes?
Yes, thank you Bu Chelsea for reminding us.
Ibu Citra, terima kasih. Pak Henky, jika diizinkan saya punya pertanyaan dari sisi hukum. Karena kemarin kita bicara dan hari ini kita bicara banyak sekali teknologi. Tapi apakah bisa dibuka dalam forum ini seperti apa perjanjian atau kontrak yang dilakukan oleh GoTo terhadap seluruh mitranya. Terutama dalam penggunaan materi-materi itu. Materi pemberitaannya. Disclose your NDA perhaps. Thank you.
Gini Bu, nggak tahu politik correct. Soalnya setiap media itu beda-beda kebutuhannya. Misal nih contoh, saya nggak bisa disclose tuh karena ketika kita ngomong sama hukum online, kebutuhan mereka beda, use case itu mereka apa beda gitu. Jadi memang tergantung ini ya, kebutuhan dari media itu apa. Dan apa yang ekosistem ini bisa bantu, itu sih.
Oke, saya elaborate sedikit.
Yeah.
Pada saat ekspansi tools untuk lebih lanjut di-develop oleh pihak GoTo, apakah legal framework Indonesia itu digunakan dalam dealing ekspansi aplikasi ini?
Ya,
Terima kasih.
Ya, digunakan. Ya, jadi digunakan dan kebetulan memang kan inisiatif ini tuh inisiatif open source. Semua orang itu kita nggak monetize dari inisiatif ini. Jadi benar-benar open source dan ini mungkin dari hukum online bisa jelasin ya, bisa bantu jelasin. Ya, kebetulan kita partner sama hukum online yang ahli hukum.
Any specific law that you can tell us?
Mungkin bisa
that you
jelasin
refer?
bantu.
Thank you.
Mas Arka bisa bantuin? Ya.
Boleh minta mikrofon untuk Mas Arka? Ya, ada yang lari.
Ya, terima kasih. Jadi pada dasarnya tentu kontrak sesuai dengan peraturan Undang-Undang Indonesia harus dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi kita gunakan juga bahasa Indonesia untuk perjanjiannya. Dan sebenarnya in term of perjanjian dengan GoTo, saya bisa, tentu nggak bisa di-close secara detail gitu ya. Cuma secara umum seperti perjanjian komersil biasa, pada dasarnya secara prinsip ini adalah dukungan para partner media untuk kita bisa membuat large language models lokal gitu ya, karena semangatnya tentu bahasa Indonesia, ada local language dan lain-lain itu dan dikembangkan oleh GoTo dengan bantuan support juga dari Indosat gitu ya. Itu satu hal untuk trainingnya, jadi pada dasarnya mungkin kayak hukum online dan mungkin dilakukan dengan Tempo, Kompas Gramedia, pada dasarnya kita provide korpus. Ini loh ada sekian gigabytes potongan artikel yang kita berikan ke mereka, kemudian teman-teman di GoTo melakukan training sehingga bisa menghasilkan model terbaru yang tadi disampaikan sudah dirilis juga secara open source. Itu satu hal. Kemudian yang kedua, tentu kita ingin bikin pembedanya tentu dengan menggunakan sahabat AI ini bisa mendapatkan informasi yang aktual tentunya kan. Ada recent update, event, berita dan lain-lain itu bisa dilakukan. Tentu pada saat ada query dari pengguna yang menginginkan that kind of information, dari sahabat AI akan memberikan kutipan atau dia mengambil dari hasil crawler mereka dan waktu itu kita pastikan tolong dikasih atribusinya. Jadi if kalau user pengen melanjutkan kembali experience-nya, mereka bisa buka website hukum online atau Tempo dan lain-lain. Nah, sebagai tambahan juga waktu itu secara teknis kita juga ada perjanjian misalkan, oh nanti yang request dari GoTo itu spesifik, IP-nya ini, agent-nya ini. Jadi secara teknis di IT-nya juga kami melakukan proteksi juga. Misalkan kalau di hukum online, robot TXT kita tuh sangat spesifik. Misalkan Anthropic no, OpenAI no. Tapi kalau untuk specifically agent-nya sahabat AI, kita kasih whitelist. Kurang lebih seperti itu.
Oke, terima kasih Mas Arka. Aku
Terima
juga
Thank you
mengundang.
ya.
Saya juga mengundang teman-teman peserta yang lain. Kalau mau bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia, silakan. Ada alat penerjemah yang bisa membantu semuanya. The next one is Ash. Please introduce yourself first.
Hi. Henky, first of all, congratulations on reaching 70 billion parameters. So that is state of the art. In Malaysia, we also do have an LLM which was trained with Bahasa Melayu data called Malam.
Malam?
Malam, yeah.
It's
by a
Indonesian.
Yeah, exactly. My point here, yeah. It's called Malam and it was developed by a company called Mesolithica. I mean, credits to them, but then I don't think they asked for any permission from any publishers. So as a sahabat, I would like to maybe a bit of a business proposal. Are there any plans to actually extend this to Bahasa Melayu? Because that would be great. We have a lot of Indonesian speakers in Malaysia, and we have a lot of Bahasa Melayu speakers in Indonesia as well. So vice versa. Any plans to extend this? I can do the deal if you.
Very concrete.
I think it's good idea, you know.
It's an excellent idea.
Yeah, excellent idea. No, in fact, actually, I'm from Sumatera. I'm from Jambi, Riau, Melayu as well. You know, Melayu.
Orang
yeah.
Melayu.
Cikgu ya.
Yeah.
The cultural connection.
Kita orang pun okay lah.
We can talk after this, yeah. Sahabat.
Okay, the following question will be from the man there with the green shirt. Thank you. Please introduce yourself.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ari. I'm from Maverick, Indonesia, as a Director of Growth and Innovation. So I'm using in bahasa also ya. And jadi kalau dilihat, terima kasih Pak tadi untuk paparannya sangat menarik dan dari sisi detail saya melihat flashback sekilas ya terkait dengan sahabat AI untuk bisa tadi disebutkan juga menggunakan metode crawling gitu. Tapi yang saya concern saat ini adalah bagaimana kami bisa yakin bahwa tidak mengulang dengan platform yang sudah kita coba banyak seperti yang sekarang di market, seperti platform global lainnya. Dan di mana saat kita melihat konten digunakan tetapi tidak ada nilai yang menurut kami yang adil ya untuk dikembalikan lagi kepada publishers. Nah itu mungkin pertanyaan saya seperti itu. Terima kasih.
Oke, thank you ya. Jadi sebenarnya terima kasih untuk pertanyaannya. Nah makanya ketika kita membuat sahabat AI, kita tuh sudah melihat berapa potensi nih. Gimana kita bisa mengajak partner-partner ini untuk bisa bergabung, ya, terutama media company. Nah kita juga sudah pikirkan nih, apa sih bukan kompensasi lah, apa sih upside misalnya, apa sih sebenarnya keuntungan, ya. Soalnya kan ini sebenarnya inisiatif bareng open source, hasilnya juga open source bisa dipakai semua orang. Apa sih sebenarnya keuntungan atau ya mungkin kompensasi untuk media company lah jika mengikuti inisiatif ini. Nah memang kita open nih, kita selalu open feedback. Makanya kalau ketika ada media company mau datang untuk partner tuh kita open feedback. Itu ada tim saya di sini, Puja ya, tinggal datang nih. Misalnya oh kita juga pengen partner, kita butuh ini nih untuk AI inisiatif kita. Nah let's collaborate, kita sit down together gitu loh, bisa ngomong. Nah kalau masalah crawling itu sebenarnya tadi yang sudah dijelaskan Arka ya dari Home Online, kita tuh selalu mengatribusikan ya sumber source informasi yang kita ambil di hasil chatbot itu. Tapi saya perlu tekankan lagi nih, mungkin untuk semuanya. Chatbot itu sebenarnya mungkin saya belum bisa ngomong ya, chatbot itu sebenarnya salah satu use case dari AI. Sebenarnya use case dari AI itu macam-macam. Untuk accounting kah, untuk translation kah. Kebetulan kita luncurin chatbot ini karena kita pengen lihat bahwa user tuh bisa coba nih model kita. Goal dari kita itu sebenarnya bukan chatbotnya. So we are not competing with global AI company. Yeah, they already invested like over billion, yeah. We are focusing building LLMs. Ya, LLMs. Ya. Nah, kenapa akhirnya kita luncurin chatbot? Karena when we launch our first LLM model last year, only developers understood. Cuma developer yang ngerti, Mas, ya kan? Akhirnya kita bilang, ya udahlah kita luncurin chatbotnya, tapi chatbot itu kan lebih consumer, kita tuh nggak akan compete, Mas. Nanti chatbot ini kita akan monetize nggak saat ini ya. Nah, kita lebih kepada LLM ini bisa dipakai ya sama semua media companies, sama semua UMKM untuk mereka juga bisa buat use case mereka. Jadi, if you are talking about AI, it's not just chatbot. It could be tools. Contohnya nih, kita lagi buat chatbot untuk consumer, customer support. Nah, jadi bisa untuk customer support juga dalam bentuk suara kalau ada yang telepon. Nah, sebenarnya yang saya diskusi ini bukan limited, tadi sahabat AI tadi, memang ini chatbotnya, karena kita pengen showcase dari LLM kita. But our focus now is building LLM, large language model, that people can download for free, open source, and they can use the model, put their own data again, train the model, and become their model, gitu sih intinya.
Okay, the next question comes from Mas Ading.
Thank
Ading,
you.
please introduce yourself first.
Yeah. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mas Duki. I just want to follow up Mbak Chelsea's question regarding the what exactly the long term, maybe if you have, for the cooperation between the GoTo with, for instance, Hukum Online or Tempo or Republika, in terms of what we are discussing this today regarding the sustainability of the media. Do you have any idea of the, for instance, giving specific attention to the alternative media, for instance, instead of the mainstream media you mentioned about Kompas and Tempo instead? Do you have, I mean, this is like, do you have a specific long-term project or partnership with all kind of media companies, media institutions that perhaps in the short time don't pay credit for you, but in the long term, that would be good for the sustainability of the media. Thank you.
Okay, thank you ya for question Pak ya. Okay, correct me if I answer your questions wrong ya. So again, the spirit when we create Sahabat AI is collaborations. That's why it's like when we talk about this, we call it gotong royong, right? This is the testament of Indonesian spirit of gotong royong. So we always want to collaborate with people, with a lot of stakeholders, In this case, it's media companies. We are very open, Pak. So Sahabat AI actually we launched it just last year, less than a year, Pak. That's why we are still doing a lot of experiment regarding the model, basically. We are happy to onboard a lot of partners. Even we are inviting a lot of partners. Even in the pipeline, we have been talking to a lot of potential partners juga, Pak. So not only like specific mainstream media, but any kind of medias. Because we believe that if you want to create a comprehensive, powerful, local AI platform, we need to partner with many stakeholders, right, from different industries. So not just for the chatbot, but again, just to enrich the model, the foundational model. So that's why we partner with Hukum Online, because we believe that Hukum Online, they have credible data regarding anything about law in Indonesia. Just now Mas Arka just mentioned they have like 9 million data about pengadilan So we always open to partner.
Thank you.
Okay. The next question before Sergio is you. Could you please? Yep. And then Sergio, you first.
Thank you. I'm James. I have two questions, one on history and one on current affairs. So for history, such as 1965, 1988, important events in Indonesia. How are you navigating the information? Are you putting guardrails around what Sahabat AI can or cannot say? And then I'll turn to international events, current one in Gaza. Again, you know, how are you accessing the information? Is there any guardrails? Yeah, thank you.
Very good question, Pak. Yeah. So I think this is more relevant not to LLMs, yeah, more on the chatbot, basically, right? LLM is just like bunch of information that we train, so the model can really understand human languages better. So for the chatbot, we use guardrails, basically. So that's why we also launched our safe AI guidelines. You know, we are making sure like only credible, respectful information that come up as an answer. So we have like strong guardrail. Yeah. In fact, we use the framework from Komdigi, the Ministry of Communication and Digital of Indonesia. We are making sure we have strong guardrails, even to avoid like hallucinations. When people ask questions, we are making sure the informations provided are true. You know, of course, somehow we cannot control as well. Even if you try Gemini, GPT as well, they see like some hallucination, but we try to avoid that. So if you ask about like adult information, everything, of course we have guardrails. Regarding the history as well, we have a lot of inputs. We have a team, we have a policy team, we have a PPGR team as well, public policy, who are responsible to look at what kind of information, what kind of reference that we provide for the users. Yeah, we do have the guardrails part. Yeah.
Okay, the next question will be from Sergio.
Very quick question. There's a lot of expenditures that you need to make, and a lot of investment for infrastructure, for this sort of deals, for distribution and marketing. And I wonder if your product is somehow profitable right now, and how much did it cost to build a 7 billion parameter model? Because as I understand, this is very expensive to build an LLM, right? So kind of wonder the economics behind it.
Okay, thank you so much. This is basic questions. So again, coming back to three things that I mentioned earlier. To build LLMs, you need to have GPU powers, right? From NVIDIA H100, H200. Second, engineering resources, right? Last one is content, right? Content resources. So that's why we partner with Indosat actually on the infrastructure. So we partner with a research institute. Yeah, we do put some investment, but it's not a lot because this is open source. We are not making money off it. Yeah, because when we spoke to like Indosat, you know, NVIDIA, they also wanted to make sure that Indonesia also have this AI initiative. At the end of the day, how NVIDIA make money basically if there are a lot of like AI initiative, right? But in order to have this AI initiative, we need to have a lot of capabilities locally. So if you ask me about the cost, of course we do put some money cost, especially engineering costs. Yeah, we put a lot of engineers working on this. For the infrastructure cost, actually, luckily we have partners like Indosat, NVIDIA partners. Yeah, and then about like distribution, everything, we never advertise this. Actually, we don't have a GTM, a go-to-market strategy, because this is open source. We just launch it publicly, you know. We put in our app, you know, GoPay app, whereby we got a lot of users already through our partners, basically. So we don't really promote, advertise, or put some like Google ads, Facebook ads, you know, to advertise this. No, we don't proactively advertise this. Yeah.
Okay, I think the last question will be from Trina, already holding the mic.
Yes, hi, Henky. So thank you so much. So I just wanted to, it's a two-part question. The first part is, why did GoTo decide to take this partnership approach with media companies when other tech companies are, scraping data for LLMs and, crawling for RAC? Is it legal, commercial, or a moral aspect of this? But the second part to this is that, do you think that the industry would then move towards this GoTo's model and approach, or do you see yourself as being an outlier?
Okay. And the super last question from Prodita.
My name is Prodita. I'm from The Conversation Indonesia. My question is, hold on, let me arrange my question. So the approach that GoTo is taking is to build an LLM using an open source approach, which is different from OpenAI and other profit-making technology companies. My question is, why did GoTo take that approach? What is it for GoTo? The value to be part of the collaboration, because yes, of course, building a sovereign LLM that is local and everybody can use in Indonesia and it's sovereign is, all of us would benefit. But specifically for GoTo, is there other value that you think would be beneficial for GoTo? Not just like this is a good thing that we want to do. Like I just want to figure out that.
Okay, good questions. Yeah, I think first question is almost related. So again, coming back to the background, why we initiated this? Because from our experience, GoTo, we are consumer apps. We have two services. We have on-demand services like Gojek, GoFood, food delivery. We have logistics. And another services is GoPay, is GoTo Financial, is more financial services. Of course, in order to serve our customers better, we need to use technology. We need to use AI. So the current global AI, right? They are more focusing on just now global languages, while GoTo, we are focusing on Indonesia. Most of our users are Indonesian. So that's why when we create something for users, we need to use LLMs that can fit with Indonesia. Again, I want to emphasize that this Sahabat AI is not really competing with like Gemini, OpenAI. They already invested a couple of $1 billion. So we launched this because we think that there's a need, right? If you, for example, if SMBs, for us, for example, when we want to create a customer service chat, we don't need to use 1 trillion parameters, right? I think with even 9 billion parameters is enough to build a niche chatbot, basically. First. Second thing as well, you don't need to connect to API globally, to Singapore, to Taiwan, and then US. So this open source, basically, everyone, not only GoTo as well, you can download, you can go to Hugging Face now, you can download the model, you can create a chatbot, or you can create app, inference from the LLM. You can put it in your data center, local data center. So the data doesn't go out of the country. Yeah. So cost is cheap, right? For us as well, for GoTo, if you ask me. Because now we have, I don't have time to demo. So we use Sahabat AI, yeah, Sahabat AI for our Dira. Dira is a dictate suara, is a voice activated. Like, hey Dira, transfer my money now. Hey Dira, please top up my balance. So the LLM actually is Sahabat AI. So it's cost efficient. Second thing, latency, speed, because you put in local data center, right? And for the third one as well is data sovereignty, right? You put locally. Your data doesn't go out of the country. So this is the reason why we launched Sahabat AI in the first place. And it applies to everyone as well. It's open source. You can use it as well. Yeah. Of course, Sahabat AI doesn't solve any problem. If you have complex problem, right? Just pay ChatGPT then, right? Yeah. But if you need a smaller model, that's why we are not thinking to build 1 trillion parameters. Actually, we already have pipeline in the long run. After 70 billion parameters, maybe we go down, but we are focusing on images or videos, multimodality. Yeah, that's the questions. Yeah. So actually, we use Sahabat AI for our own use cases. There's another example. We have a lot of GoFood merchants. When they wanted to update the menu online, normally they need to type. Sometimes there are a lot of typos, wrongly put the menu like nasi goreng, nasi oreng, something like that. But now we use Sahabat AI using OCR. You just, with this offline menu, you can transfer it to a digital menu using Sahabat AI. This is example, yeah. So to answer your question as well, when we partner with a media company, not only just media, that's why universities, right? We think that we need to collaborate, right? We think that like Tempo, like Hukum Online, they also need AI for their own use cases. But they need to have the basic fundamental or foundational model. So that's why we create Sahabat AI. And then they can take Sahabat AI, for example, Hukum Online, they put their own data. Maybe the proprietary data, they put it, they train themselves, use for their own. But they already have this strong foundational model that really understand Indonesian language, really understand Bataknese, Sundanese, Balinese, Javanese. Yeah. So this is just the basic. Yeah. You can train them. This is open source. Yeah. So this is the spirit basically. And another thing that we think actually, in order to AI scale Indonesia, we need to grow the local talents. Because from the government, they have target to reach like 9 billion high digital skill talents and 1.2 million AI talents by 2030. So we think that we need to do this initiative just to entice, to encourage people, to focus on AI, to become like developers, not only just a user, yeah. We call it like pengguna. Because people keep thinking Indonesia is just a market for big global tech companies, right? Users. But we want also become a builder, inventor. That's why we launched this open source ecosystem so everyone can collaborate. One of the partners, yeah, media companies. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Henky, for your explanation. This wraps up our sessions, very lively, and I believe there will be a rising traffic after this for people in here session who would like to try the Sahabat AI. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.